With GM's long overdue revamp of the Sierra and Silverado, the question really is, did it meet expectations? Well, thanks for finding me out on the old interwebs here. I'm Greg Cavanaugh of the Gallup Journey magazine, and today we are indeed looking at the all-new 2014 GMC Sierra all-terrain. So stick around for a few minutes and let's find out. Given that it took GM so long to redo the Sierra and Silverado, and hopefully to come the Yukon and the Tahoe, I think everybody's expectations for this thing were that it could fly. Well, I'm here to tell you it can't fly. In fact, I'll admit, when I was looking at leaked images on the web and, reading about potential powertrains and not seeing words like turbos or 9-speed and stuff, I was thinking, man, we're going to be let down after all this time. Well, I'm here to tell you, after driving this for a week every day, that frankly, we are not to be let down because this truck is excellent. GM has really done a great job on this truck. They've simply taken what was already a good truck and just refined it and made it so much better, which is, of course, a recipe for success. It's so good that in trying to come up with some things to talk about in this video, the only two things I could really complain about were so minor, I hesitate to even say them, but I will. Firstly, this thing, the all-terrain, has carbon fiber trim in it. And again, I don't know where this trend is coming from. I drove that RAV4 that had carbon fiber trim too. What's the deal with that? This is a 5,000 plus pound truck. It just doesn't fit. You gotta admit. And secondly, after driving my Mercedes wagon for all these years, this is almost a $50,000 truck, and for some reason, it still does not have auto up on all of the windows. Does that really cost that much? I mean, I've just come to expect it. Other than that, that's all I got. I've got nothing else to complain about. So I guess let me tell you about why it's so great. Sometimes out on the road, you really need to do a double check or a double take to see, is this the new 14 Sierra or is it the old model? And that's because GM, they took their existing design language and simply moved it forward and made it more modern and refined it. And frankly, that was a point of contention out on the interwebs. Some people were disappointed with the styling of this truck, but frankly, I really like what they did. It's refined, it's modern, yet it's classic. It's not, some completely overwrought chrome grille that goes from, hood to air dam. It's just, they've moved it up a little bit. It's a little bit more upright. It's a little bit bigger. It's got a nice stance, a nice bold front end without being completely over the top. And I like that. Frankly, the headlights alone are enough to say, hey, GM really did a great job here. But as a package, the whole thing looks great. There's awesome creasing in almost every panel on this truck. The fenders here have some really nice creases. It kind of makes the truck look a little bit smaller, but also gives it some really muscular, almost fender flare look to it. So as a whole, I just think they really did a great job with the styling here, and I think the people that think they didn't go far enough really need to see this thing in person. It's really hard to shoot a white truck with a black interior and blazing sunlight, but I'm gonna do my best to show this to you guys because more than anything, the 2014 crew cab is so different than last year's is because it's absolutely huge. Now, you guys know in the crew cab wars, the space is getting ridiculous. I mean, Toyota, not Dodge, Ram, Ford, and GM now, it's just huge. It's ridiculous, but the space is so comfortable. I mean, I'm 5'8". That's where I was sitting before driving. Now I'm behind myself. I mean, this is just huge, right? Now, what GM did here, which I think is just absolutely awesome, is this is completely flat back here. There's not a single rail or anything in the way. And as you can see, hopefully, that is a ton of space. I mean, if you're like me, camera gear or music gear, a PA system, all of that could go in here and be completely out of the elements. If you're using this more as a work truck, two-person style, all your tools can be in here and completely locked out of the elements as well. So kudos on that. I also noticed, for those of you who aren't construction or whatever, and you're using this with your families, you can put a ton of groceries under these seats, under the butts of your kids or whatever, and they're completely safe and out of the way. I put like 4 12 packs of soda under there because they were on sale and you couldn't even see them anymore. Awesome. The heart of any truck is, of course, the powertrain. And I am indeed driving the new 5.3 V8. I need to say new because it is not the same 5.3 as last year. It's considerably different. In fact, when you think about all the technologies that are added, it's pretty impressive that this is a pushrod V8. It has direct injection, it has active fuel management, which is fancy speak for cylinder deactivation, and it has variable valve timing. Now, when it comes to trucks, you guys know that it's constant pissing wars between the companies, and the 5.3 here is right in line with Ford's 5.0. The 5.3 here in the Sierra makes 355 horsepower, 383 pound-feet of torque. The 5.0 in the Ford makes basically a little less torque and a little more horsepower. So right there, it's a wash. But what I am here to say is that this 5.3 is likely more than enough engine for almost the entire American public. It's plenty powerful. It's extremely smooth, very quiet, and it's not till you really get your foot into it that you really even notice it. And that's when this thing really gets going off the line, and merging on the highway and stuff is no problem with a truck even this size. It's got plenty of power. Now, that technology, of course, isn't supposed to just get you power, it's supposed to get you efficiency, and that really is becoming the name of the game in the truck wars. It's not just about power, payload, and towing anymore. It's also about fuel economy. And there, GM has Ford beat by quite a few ticks. This thing's rated at 16, 22, 18 combined, which is a tick higher in each EPA category than the F-150. And I have to say, given the size of this truck as a 4x4, crew cab, all of those kinds of things, those are pretty good fuel economy numbers. Now, a big thing that can be attributed to that is indeed this fuel management, this cylinder deactivation. It's so good, however, that unless you're looking at a particular screen here in the dash, there's one display where there's a little icon in the corner where it says either V8 or V4. That is essentially the only way you know if you're driving on 8 cylinders or 4, because it's so seamless and so smooth. If no one told you had it, you'd never know it was there. It works that good. So kudos to GM on this powertrain. No, it doesn't have turbos. No, it doesn't have a 9-speed automatic or something like we were hoping it might, but it doesn't need to because it's really good. The interior and the truck as a whole has really just become classier, nicer, and more refined. I mean, that really sums up the drive in this truck. I noticed it right away. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and lie and tell you this is some sort of opulent luxury car cabin. I mean, when I first got in the Buick Enclave, I was like, whoa, this thing's nice. When I got in here, I was like, oh, good job, GM. I mean, there's nice stitching, the materials are soft, the layout looks good. There is a ton of plugs here for pretty much anything you want. You could plug in probably like, a battery for a cordless drill or something like that. I mean, there's USB ports, it's got connections galore. They've really hooked you up in that respect. But more than anything, what I've noticed about this is just how quiet this truck is. The way they redid these doors, that they sit inside the frame of the body, means that you don't have all that wind noise on the doors, and it just rides so smoothly and so quietly. It's really impressive in that respect. It's a very calm and nice place to be. The other thing I really noticed about it is at night. The lighting on this truck is really good. It's basically kind of like this bluish hue, and between the headlamps, the lights on the mirrors, and the lighting in the interior, when you're getting into this thing at night, you feel like you're getting into a really, really nice vehicle, because the lighting just has this classy feel to it. It's not too bright. It's nice, and it's particularly like pointed at certain features and where you need to be without being overly bright on the inside. GM has done a really good job with this interior, and it definitely makes you feel like you're getting almost a whole nother category of truck when you get in it. Now, in terms of refinement and features, the interior has really improved, but also practically speaking, it's just, they've really done a good job with it here. This center console is absolutely huge. I mean, under the armrest here, I mean, that's as big as most people's like coolers they take to the beach. I looked at the brochure, it says you can put hanging file folders in there. I mean, it's absolutely huge. Two good sized cup holders here, and when you move these cup holders, there's a very, very deep well underneath that. I had no problem fitting my Nalgene water bottle in there. In front of that is another deep storage pocket, and you have these nice little ridges here that are kind of rubberized that hold your cell phone, pens, other things like that. And then you have all of these plugs. I mean, there's AC, there's two DC, cigarette style plugs right here, and there's 3 USB USB plugs right here. I mean, you could charge your cell phone, you could charge a cordless battery, and you could plug in, I don't even know, your kid's DVD player for the back seat and still have more plugs. Now up top here, I have GM's IntelliLink, which is a really cool setup. I like it a lot. I did not find it difficult to pair my phone, easily made phone calls. You can play Pandora on it. You got XM radio, you got navigation. Now, GM did what Toyota does and other makers are doing, is they're saying we need this thing to work with gloves. So the buttons and the knobs are all really, really big, but they're a little bit classier than what Toyota does. It might even just be the font. But I do find the displays here on the climate control, they're a little bit lo-fi. They're kind of like dot matrix style. But as a whole, I mean, this is a nice, really nice working center console. It's easy to use. It's a little bit of a long reach for someone my height, but other than that, you know, I have to say kudos to GM on that as well. This one has heated seats. It's got hill descent control. It's got pretty much every feature you could want in a truck, all within roughly fingertip reach. So when it boils down to it, I mean, trucks nowadays are, frankly, all of them, whether you're a Toyota, Ford, Ram fanboy, whatever, you know, they've all become really quite good. And the GM here is no exception. People thought when it came out that it was some sort of so-so truck or whatever. It really isn't. Powertrain's great. I mean, the only thing you got to look at, of course, is price. Now, you can no longer buy your grandfather's, you know, completely bone stock, you know, V6 manual truck that's somehow like, you know, just about $20-some thousand. That's not true anymore. The most basic edition of this truck is $28K. If you're getting the crew cab like I'm driving, even with pretty much no features, comparatively speaking, it's still almost $34K. And this one, the all-terrain edition, has Bose stereo, IntelliLink. The all-terrain gets you, you know, different suspension, wheels and tires, and all that kind of good stuff. I mean, it's almost $47K, almost $50,000. Now, if you get that through your head, you already know trucks are expensive. Then I really just need to sum this up by saying this truck is good. It's recommended. I recommend it to you. Even if you're a fanboy of one of those others, you need to drive this one and give it a chance. As always, I want to give a shout out to the people that make these things happen. In this case, it is Rico Auto Complex of Gallup, New Mexico. The guys are great. Let me drive around the Sierra for a few days and really get a feel for it. And of course, thanks to you guys, as always, for watching, liking, subscribing, sharing, and of course, commenting below. Hey, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.